Hello, my name is FPL Pickle and welcome back to another video. So today we have another Pickles preview video, and if you're new around here, this is where I discuss the highlights of the previous game week, go over some dilemmas that you guys may have, and I also come up with some fun predictions each game week. So if you enjoyed today's video, please give the video a like and please consider subscribing as well. I'd really appreciate the support. But first of all, unfortunately, I need to go over the monstrosity that is my team. So where do I even begin with this? I mean, absolute disaster. Unfortunately, we are down to 7.3 million in rank, and yeah, overall 35 points this week. So not what we were hoping for. Did way worse than I thought. I mean, the saving grace in my game week was Salah getting a last minute assist against Newcastle when he'd done absolutely nothing the whole game. So I think that kind of sums up everything that you need to know about this game week. But yeah, absolute mess. I mean, Pedro Porro did quite well with 5-pointer. I guess the thing is, the main thing that really hurts my heart is the Burnley clean sheet that came in. I was so convinced it wasn't going to happen, and if you guys don't know, last minute, before Game Week 1 deadline, I last minute transferred Estev for Biol because I thought I was being clever, thinking that Estev was probably going to have a price drop, and I was like, oh, I'll go for a different defender instead, thinking that I wouldn't need to play Estev anyway because I'd have Konza against Brentford in Game Week 2, and then he gets a red. So then, yeah, I didn't have, any defensive cover for Burnley except for Dubravka, and I just wasn't that convinced, but the clean sheet came in anyway, and because most people had either one defender like Estev or had both in their team, it, backfired quite a lot. And then the likes of Verts not really doing too much in the game. Everyone just blanking, essentially. Even Anderson getting DEFCON was like a massive success for me. So yeah, I think that kind of summarises everything you need to know there. It was just a mess. Palmer not been in the squad either. We'll talk a little bit more about all of this in a little while, but yeah, I don't even know, guys. Obviously, we're 2 game weeks in. There's many game weeks to go. I can't panic just yet, but I can't help but think I've made a few mistakes already, so we'll have to try and rectify them, but we'll see what we end up doing before the Game Week 3 deadline. But yeah, we'll move on from that for now. We'll discuss that later on this week. But first of all, before we move on to the Game Week highlights, we'll discuss the predictions that I made last week and how they did. So guys, to my absolute surprise, we got another one right this week. So that means we got 2 Pickles predictions correct out of the 10 that I wanted to achieve this season. And for anyone new around here, I'm trying to get at least 10 predictions right across the season. I just come up with the most random predictions based on what my gut's telling me. And if I get more than 10 right, then I'll be donating £100 to a charity of your choice. Now, I've still not chosen what that charity is going to be yet, so if you have any charities that you have in mind that you'd really like me to donate to that mean a lot to you, then please feel free down below in the comments to let me know what those charities are. I'd be really interested to know what those are, and I'll be happy to keep them in mind. But yeah, with the predictions, so Rodgers blanking against Brentford. The one that I didn't want to happen happened, unfortunately. Had a bad feeling and it came true. So yeah, Villa played really badly against Brentford. We'll talk more about it in a bit, but shocking performance. I was very surprised about that. And then Anderson, he had a decent chance towards the end of the game where this could have come true, and he accumulated quite a lot of expected assists in this game. So we were close, but yeah, it didn't quite work out there. And then Verts, I think he got like 3 DEFCON points in the end. He was pretty much ghosting in that game. It was just, yeah, a bit of a shame. I didn't think he'd get much in the game anyway, so my thought process was like, maybe he'll get a bit of defensive contribution rather than getting an attack in return, but unfortunately he got neither, and then got subbed. So yeah, that's that. But yeah, very happy with how this is going so far. I did not expect to get any correct so far, let alone 2 out of 2 game weeks. So we'll keep going, and if you're interested to hear what my predictions are for Game Week 3, then stay tuned for later. But for now, let's talk about the Game Week highlights. So overall, even though in terms of FPL, this game week was an absolute stinker, it was quite an exciting game week. Like, a lot went on, really. So to start off with, Chelsea versus West Ham, or shall I say West Ham versus Chelsea. I mean, first of all, Palmer didn't even end up featuring because it seems like he was carrying an injury, and they planned to play him for the Fulham game and then scan him today, which is Tuesday. but I think he felt it too much in the warm-up and just couldn't continue basically. But it sounds like based on the scans, it's not as bad as they thought previously, which is positive. But whether he comes back for Game Week 3 or not is kind of debatable. Some people think he might be, some people think he won't be, but then there's the international break where he has time to recover anyway. So then it leaves us in a bit of an awkward position in terms of whether we keep him or not. I'm personally leaning towards selling him slightly, but we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, so that happened. So they didn't have him. West Ham, first of all, got the goal. Paqueta scored an absolute screamer, wiping out my Sanchez clean sheet, which was very nice. And then, well, the Fulcrum goal, actually, that would have been my little bit of bench jam for Palmer, actually. But that was offside marginally, so that didn't count. And then from there, just absolutely capitulated, absolutely terrible. JP massively hauled, 1 goal, 2 assists, and, you know, very highly owned. And as someone who didn't own him, it was very, very painful to see. Kukurea got another assist as well, but yeah, Chelsea played very, very well. And if Palmer's out, JP is going to be on pens, and it's basically the talisman of the team. So feels horrible not having him, and I'm kind of planning to bring him in soon, I think. But yeah, so that's that game. And then the next game, which was more surprising in terms of result, Man City versus Tottenham, 2-0 to Tottenham. So yeah, I wasn't expecting that one. Spurs played very well. I mean, I think they had 1.11 XG in this game, so they took their chances well, essentially. Johnson goal, Palhinha goal. And Romero did very well. Obviously, another clean sheet for Spurs, which is very, very good, especially when they've got good fixtures coming up. But Romero's the only one that got DEFCON, and he played very, very well. Porro accumulated a lot of goal involvement as well, for a defender anyway, so I'm very happy to have him. But yeah, City, they had a few chances. I mean, Haaland had one big chance that he missed and accumulated quite a bit of XGI as well. But yeah, Pep went with quite an attacking lineup with the likes of Marmoush and Cherki. Well, it didn't quite work out that well, and it meant that Reinders was playing a bit of a deeper role. But then, like, Rodri came on and Foden came on towards, later on in the game, and they nearly got a goal straight away. So hopefully Rodri starts starting soon, and then that pushes Reinders slightly more forward. But he did play the whole game, which is positive, and I'm still happy to have Reinders. But yeah, Spurs assets could be really good for the upcoming game weeks, so interesting to keep an eye on. And then the Bournemouth versus Wolves game, bit of a dead game to be honest. Bournemouth got their goal quite early on, Tavernier goal, Semenyo assist, and Semenyo missed 2 big chances on top of that. So Semenyo continues to look like a good option in FPL, although he does have Spurs next week. But based on the predictions that I made later on in the video, it might not be the worst option in the world. And yeah, got a clean sheet, and Senesi got DEFCON again. He seems to be like a DEFCON monster, so if you're looking for a differential, could be a cheeky option. And then Wolves, yeah, continue to be disappointing, very uninspiring. 1 shot on target, and Totti got a red card as well. So there were 10 men. They were pushing towards the end, to be fair. But yeah, couldn't achieve anything really. It's concerning, especially as a Strand Larsen owner, and on top of all the Newcastle stuff as well, which we'll talk a little bit about later. It's not filling with much hope, and with the likes of Everton next, even though it's at home, defensively Everton are very, very good. So I don't have much hope for that game either, if he does stay at Wolves, that is. So yeah, Agbadou, I mean, getting DEFCON, which is what a lot of people picked him for, so that's promising at least. But yeah, I still would avoid Wolves defenders at all costs, guys. I'm not gonna lie, even with the good fixtures, I'm not convinced. But yeah, so that's that. And then the next 2 games, very disappointing for me for very different reasons. But yeah, the Brentford Villa game, extremely surprising. I did not expect this result at the end of it. I know that we didn't play well against Newcastle, but I wasn't expecting us to be so poor against Brentford, especially when we saw what Sunderland did to Brentford in Game Week 1. So yeah, it's concerning. Only goal in the game was Dango, his debut for Brentford. Looked very good actually, and Damsgaard was so good. He has the vision. He basically controls the game. So good defensively as well. He's so good for Brentford. I think if they didn't have him, they'd be going straight down. So yeah, he was very, very impressive. I don't think in terms of FPL I'd pick him, but just watching him, he's so good to watch. And yeah, I don't know what happened. I guess that Villa did have a few chances, but nothing overly significant. But so many of the players accumulated DEFCON. I'm not sure how many it was, maybe like 5 players, like Van der Ven, Collins, Coyote, all had DEFCON. So yeah, interesting. And you know, Brentford defenders against Sunderland could be a decent punt, so keep that in mind. But yeah, Villa, whew, I mean, especially when a lot of us have Watkins and Rodgers, it doesn't feel good knowing that they're playing this poorly. Yeah, there are quite a few shots. It might have been about 17 shots, but Watkins missed one big chance. But other than that, there wasn't really a lot going on. They're just struggling, had a lot of the possession, but just they're not producing anything at the end of it. And I don't know what's going on. I hate the lineup that we've got, to be honest. I wish that Emery would give Marlon a chance as well. I think we need some more creativity. It just feels very flat. Yeah, it's just not very fun to watch. And then Kamara unfortunately got injured. I think he's out for around 2 to 3 weeks for a hamstring injury. Correct me if I'm wrong with that, but he is out for a little while anyway. So yeah, that's another one of our problems that we've got going on. But yeah. And then Burnley versus Sunderland. This is the result I really didn't want. And, you know, I guess you could say in hindsight, like, why would you not just start Dubravka? It was such a nice fixture on paper. But seeing what happened to Burnley in Game Week 1, I was not convinced by their defence. And to be fair, there was the likes of Ballard. He got injured quite early on in the game, and that could have changed the game a little bit. Sunderland did have their chances as well. They just couldn't finish them. So, yeah. But, yeah, Burnley got the clean sheet. Anthony and Cullen getting 1 goal, 1 assist each. So, you know, pretty interesting. I don't think I'd go for Burnley players, but interesting to note. And yeah, in terms of Guy, he came on at 80 minutes, and I think he's playing tonight. But, you know, 4.5 million forward, obviously, there wasn't going to be much chance of him playing. But if you had a little bit of hope, I wouldn't be holding out too much hope for too much longer. I don't think that he's going to be starting anytime soon, unfortunately. Arsenal versus Leeds. So much going on. To start off with, Beale didn't even start like that. Oh, I was fuming when I saw that, but I saw after the game a lot of Leeds fans were like, why was Beale not starting this game? So I'm hoping in future games that he does. But anyway, Leeds they just got absolutely battered essentially. Had 3 shots, whereas Arsenal had 18 shots. Yeah, just Arsenal just absolutely battered them. Timber getting 2 goals and 1 assist, like such a haul for him. Gyökeres getting a brace as well. I mean, he had that goal that was a bit kind of scuffed it, but it went in. And he had the pen at the end as well, which was very, very strong. So Gyökeres finally got some points. And I know in my previous pickle preview I said, like, don't have him, but that was before all of the other stuff that was going on with the Havertz injury. So yeah, he became a good option after that. But yeah, unfortunately he did get the points, but quite bittersweet for Arsenal because they had 2 pretty big injuries in this game with Saka and Odegaard. Odegaard had an issue with his shoulder that he just couldn't shake when he got up. He had to come off eventually, and then Saka, he was running and then you could just tell he felt it in his hamstring, and it seems like he's going to be out for a few weeks. So I think especially if you have Saka and Palmer, Saka's going to be the one you want to prioritise coming out because you know that he's going to be out for a bit longer term, whereas Palmer, it's a bit up in the air. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame with the injuries, but yeah, Arsenal did very well. And another clean sheet as well. Why oh why have I neglected Arsenal defence, especially the last 2 seasons when I've had basically double Arsenal defence the whole time? What was I thinking? But yeah, that hurts the soul a little bit. But to be fair, at the very least, at least it wasn't Saliba and Gabriel absolutely hauling. It was Timber and Calafiore, but anyway. Yeah, and then the next game, 1-1. Not overly surprising. I mean, if I had to have predicted what the score would have been, I would have said 0-0. So, yeah, pretty much what I thought. Saar got the goal in the end, and he might be an interesting option for Game Week 3. He has a pretty good record against Villa, and I'd hope that we'd be better at home, and we need a bit of a kick up the bum, I'm not going to lie, but he could be a decent option if you're looking for a replacement for Palmer or Saka, for example, if you really want to go down to a cheaper midfielder. Munoz assist as well, I wish I had him. For Game Week 4, I might look into getting him, but I'm not sure if I have the space really to, or the moves to at the moment. LaCroix getting more DEFCON points, and yeah, with the Nottingham Forest equaliser, Henderson had a bit of a mare, to be fair. He should have been saving that, but it was a Hudson-Odoi goal, Ndoi assists. And poor Anderson owners, oh my goodness, he accumulated 11 DEFCON again. You need 12 as a midfielder, so in both weeks he's been just shy of getting 2 extra points. So I really feel for Anderson owners, because by now you'd be basically matching Reinders, I imagine. So yeah, that's very, very irritating, I imagine. But yeah. Next game, Everton 2-0. Did very, very well. Grealish, you can see, has had a big impact on their attack. I mean, had the assist for both goals. NDI goal and Garn absolute screamer as well. And then Welbeck got a pen and he just, Pickford saved it, so Pickford had a massive haul. I think Welbeck had the highest XGI of the game week. He had a few chances and then missed the pen as well, so he had an absolute stinker. Ruta wasn't in the squad. Apparently he's injured. I don't know too much about the Ruta injury. If you know down more in the comments, let me know. I didn't look into it too much, but he wasn't there, unfortunately. So yeah, Brighton not looking too impressive. It kind of bodes well for people that have Man City players for next week, especially Haaland. So yeah, I'll be feeling a little bit nervous about that. Next game, 1-1 as well. Man United still yet to score an actual goal. It was a Muniz own goal in the end, and Bruno unfortunately got a pen and he missed it. The ref accidentally bumped into him right before the pen, and then he just absolutely skied the pen, so yeah, not good. But still, from an eye test perspective, Cunha looks really, really good, missed a big chance. But, I think in terms of next game week, Burnley at home is a fixture that you can't really ignore, but it's kind of rough not really seeing Man United get the results or getting the goals. It would be nice to have seen that before picking them, especially when I have a big decision to make regarding Palmer. But yeah, Anderson, by the way, got the DEFCON points, which is good for me, and he accumulated 0.64 expected assists, which is like pretty high. I think that might be the highest. I'm not sure across all players, or at least for defenders anyway. So I'm pretty impressed with that, and I'm excited to own him for Game Week 4 for Leeds at home. I'm happy about that one. Then finally, Newcastle against Liverpool. This was a crazy game. It was a bit hostile. I'm not surprised given the whole Isak situation. But Gordon got a red card, which was a clear red card for a foul on Van Dijk. Bless him. He put out a message on Instagram just being like, I didn't mean it. I completely mistimed the tackle. And I think Gordon's quite a genuine lad, so I felt a bit bad for him. But yeah, came off, and he would have been quite a nice option for Palmer as well, but he's going to be out for 3 game weeks now. But Osler came on, got a goal. Bruno G got a goal. But quite a lot of injuries in this game, probably reflective of the whole atmosphere. Cher, head injury, not sure what is going to happen in terms of concussion rules, whether he's out or not. I'm not too sure about that. I think he might be. Joe Linton went off injured with his groin, and Tonali had an issue with his shoulder. So as if the Newcastle squad wasn't thin enough, all of that going on. And yeah, so it makes sense that they're looking at Strand Larsen and things, but Osler could potentially become an option, but I'm going to avoid, and I'll talk more about that later. But yeah, and then in terms of Liverpool getting a goal right at the death to win the game, Engamoa did so well, and that was a Salah assist as well, but overall he would basically ghosted that entire game. Same with Verts, unfortunately, didn't really do anything and got subbed off in the end. It was very, very disappointing. But yeah, Ekitike goal, and then Gakpo, 2 assists from 0.07 XA. That is sickening stuff. It hurts. But yeah, that's it for the gaming highlights. Let's move on to trying to solve some of your dilemmas. Now, I told us not to last week, but I'm kind of involved in this too, but we're still panicking. A lot of the questions are revolved around panicking about what's going on, because we've all had such bad game weeks. Well, not everyone, and I'm sure if you have had a good week, you can gloat down in the comments. I will let you do that. But there's a lot going on, and there's a lot to think about. Couple of questions about wildcards. I didn't really include it on here, but I do get it, but the timing of it worries me a little bit in terms of, we're going to be going into an international break very soon, and anything could happen. And so I don't know, based on that, whether I'd use a wildcard right now. But if it's something that you're really, really wanting to do, then absolutely don't blame me. And I'm sure there's going to be loads of videos online talking about wildcards, but in this video, sadly, I haven't really talked about that much. We'll talk about free hitting though in a little while. First of all though, a lot of the questions were around Palmer and Saka replacements, understandably. And like I mentioned earlier, I think if you're going to prioritise any of them, it'll be Saka, because it seems like he's definitely going to be out for longer. Palmer, it seems like he could be back, he might not be back. But if you're worried about it, and especially if you don't have João Pedro, I wouldn't really blame you if you were to get rid of Palmer right now. In terms of for who, there are a lot of options because, you know, Palmer and Saka are quite expensive. One obvious one perhaps is Bruno, and this might be a little bit controversial because people are like, well, he hasn't really done anything, Mr. Penn, blah blah blah, but got Burnley at home next. He's arguably the best captain for Game Week 3, and if you don't have him and you have the money to go down to him, then I think he's probably the best replacement. If you don't want to go for a Bruno, you can go down to Acuna and Mbeumo. I guess I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone here. In terms of who you go for, I think the safer pick is Bruno, because he's on pens. I know he's playing deeper, but, you know, he's always got that opportunity to score a pen like we saw. Some people are worried that he might now be off penalties and that Mbeumo, for example, could take them, but I don't think that's going to happen. And Mbeumo being on corners, he could be an interesting option. And Cunha, me personally, I do quite like the look of him because based on the eye test, he's the one that's getting close to actually doing anything in terms of getting a return. And, you know, he's always thirsty for goals, so he could be really nice for Burnley. And for me personally, if I want to upgrade my forwards as well, I don't think I'm going to be able to afford Bruno and I might have to go Cunha. But I think if you have the money, I'd probably go for Bruno. But if you're struggling, I wouldn't mind going for Cunha personally. Other options that you could look at are the likes of Johnson from Spurs or even Kudus if you want to go even cheaper, because they've got really, really good fixtures coming up. They've got Bournemouth at home next. At home, it's a good fixture. And we've seen how good they've been, and Bournemouth are still a little bit defensively shaky. Even though Wolves couldn't get past them, it's Wolves at the end of the day. So I think that's a decent fixture, and they've got good fixtures to come as well. Saying that though about Bournemouth, if you want to go for Semenyo, because he's been very, very good lately, I would not blame you for doing that. You know, always seems to be getting chances. Like I mentioned earlier, missed 2 big chances and did get an assist last game week. So he could be a nice option as well. Other than that, there's not many obvious options. It's like Marmoush is not really, you know, he's a bit of a no-go. Other than that, yeah, I don't know. There's not many, in all honesty, unless you go down to really, really cheap options, like an NDI maybe, but even then I probably wouldn't go there. Or even if you just go really far down to 5.5 mids and then really upgrade your forwards, that could be an option. But yeah, I'd say for now, the Man United midfielders and the Spurs midfielders, they're the top 2 that I'd probably be targeting. In terms of Spurs attackers, who would I go for? So I think the safest bet is Kudus, especially in terms of minutes. Some interesting ones are Johnson. I think some people were concerned about whether he's going to start if they sign someone, but I feel like at this point it's becoming less likely that they will sign someone. I think he will start these games, and he looks pretty good and he takes his chances well. So I like him. And even Pape Sarr at 5 mil, very interesting option, has been starting. Didn't do too much in the last game, but does get his chances and accumulates DEFCON as well, or has been very close. So I like him as an option. And then Richarlison, potentially. 6.5 mil, very, very interesting. And it seems like he could be first choice now. But me personally, I'm going to, if I were to have him, I'd always be a bit nervous about Solanke kind of creeping up and stealing minutes. And he will take minutes off Richarlison. And it might be that he only gets about 70, and that could be enough for Richarlison, especially with the fixtures coming up. But I would prefer to have someone that plays longer. Johnson's playing like 75 to 80, so that's not much better. It's up to you in terms of risk appetite, but I think when there's other forwards that, you know, look interesting like Wood and João Pedro, Richarlison wouldn't be my top one to go for. But if you're looking for someone you fancy Richarlison, then I absolutely don't blame you for going there. Now, I didn't think we'd be talking about this so soon, but I don't really blame people for thinking about this. Is it time to get rid of Villa assets? Because let's face it, they've been outrageously bad. I think, especially if you've got two, if you're desperate to get rid of one of them, then maybe Rodgers is the one to get rid of first, especially because there's a lot of options in the midfield. But personally, I'm not going to let go of them just yet. Obviously, I'm a Villa fan, so I have a little bit of faith, and Villa are known to be inconsistent, by the way, but not known to play this badly, I must say. But they've got some really nice fixtures coming out. They've got Burnley, they've got Sunderland, they've got Everton, they've got Crystal Palace at home, which might not sound good, but don't forget Crystal Palace are going to be leggy because they're playing midweek. So it just feels too premature to get rid of them right now, despite what's been going on. I just don't think it's worth panicking. Like I say, if you really want to get rid of one of them, probably get rid of Rodgers. But other than that, I wouldn't. I just would hold off a little bit, stay calm and just see. Because I think they have a chance to return soon. But I wouldn't expect too much because they've never been a team to score loads of goals anyway. So yeah, that's where I stand on that. And then captaincy is a difficult one and it's making me nervous because I would probably say that Fernandes is going to be up there in terms of captaincy and I'm probably not going to be able to afford him. And that sucks a little bit. But yeah, I'd say he's one of the better captains, even if he is playing a deeper role. Burnley at home is such a good fixture that you want to target. Other than that, I'd probably say Haaland against Brighton away. He's probably my top one. If I had all of them, right, Haaland would probably be the captain that I would pick. And then it would be Fernandes vice captain. Yeah, because of Salah's fixture, Arsenal at home, it's not a great fixture. And with the way he's been playing recently, he wouldn't be up there for me. Thing is, I still might go there with captaincy, but it doesn't feel amazing. And of course, we don't have the likes of Saka and Palmer to choose from right now. And I think based on Villa's form, we don't want to be captaining Watkins. So it's stressful because I don't think many people are going to have either, or they might have one. But I'd say Haaland and Fernandes are the best captains, and then probably Salah after that. If you want to be really rogue, Cunha could be a really nice captaincy shout because I think he could be the one getting the goals if they finally score them. This is the thing that worries me. It's such a good fixture, but they haven't scored like a proper goal yet. So yeah, we'll see. But those, yeah, Haaland and Fernandes would be my top two for now. Let me know down in the comments if you're planning on captaining someone else. I'd be really interested to hear. Because me personally, I can't think of many other options. Like Gordon might have been a decent shout if he was available, but obviously he's not available now. So yeah. Finally, free hit. I've got a little draft that I'll show you in a little while. But I think it's a decent strategy. I'm personally waiting for game week 6 perhaps. But I don't mind it this week. I prefer it a little bit more to last week's one, I'd say. But yeah, I'll show you a draft now and I'll show you what I've come up with. So guys, as per usual, I've got myself on FPL team and I've come up with a free hit draft for you. So I don't know what other free hit teams look like, but I have a feeling they're all going to look fairly similar. But yeah, so in goal we have Sells against West Ham at home. West Ham, as we've seen, look pretty dreadful, and I'd be backing Forest quite highly to keep a clean sheet. I was tempted on doubling up, but I do generally like to diversify, risk a little bit. So I've just gone with Sells for now. He's the most reliable keeper, I'd say. Now in defence, a little cheeky punt here. We've got Coyote. I know that a lot of people will be thinking, what with this pick? But I think that, you know, he can be really attacking. And I think that Brentford have a decent chance of keeping a clean sheet. So I do quite like this pick. And, you know, I think, you know, very differential. And I think on a free hit, he'd be very, very nice. Cucurella against Fulham at home. He's been very, very attacking. He's a player that I wish I had in my actual team, but I don't. And I think against Fulham, I think they could keep a clean sheet here, and I could see him getting attack and return as well, even though Fulham's defence isn't too bad. So yeah, Porro, basic pick. Think it's a good fixture. I think he could get an attack and return. Not much to say about that. And then in terms of the midfield, yeah, we got double Manchester United attack with Fernandes and Cunha. And you can see here, kind of like what I alluded to earlier, that Fernandes is not the captain in this team. But yeah, like I said, Cunha, I really like him based on what I've seen. I think that he's the most likely to get a return out of all of them. In terms of Cunha and Burmo, one or the other basically, but I probably wouldn't go all out with all three. I think that's a little bit much. And you can see that I've got Dorgu on the bench. And you could argue maybe you prefer to have Dorgu starting ahead of Coyote. But yeah, that's why he's on the bench, so you can kind of choose. But for now, I thought Coyote would be quite a fun pick. And then Dango, also quite a fun pick as well. I know it's only been one game and it might be slightly knee-jerky, but I think again, gotta back the fixture a little bit. I think he could do well. And then Johnson against Bournemouth at home. Again, a nice fixture. Seems like he's starting. I'd be happy to play him. And then here, unlike my team in FPL and unlike a lot of people's teams, I think, a lot of my money is in the forward line. And this is the perfect front line for this game week, I'd say. I wish I had this. So we got Wood against West Ham. Back Wood to get a goal here. Maybe even, win a pen or something. And then Haaland against Brighton. We saw that Brighton weren't overly good last game week, and he would be my captain in this team. I think he could do really well. We know what Haaland can do. And I think I just back him a little bit more than Fernandes, unfortunately, despite the fixture. Let me know what you think. This could be a terrible decision, but I think based on what I've seen, I think Haaland's more likely to get returns here. And I know that forwards need to do more to score more, but still, I back Haaland all the way. And then João Pedro, based on what we saw last week, the fact that Palmer might be out, he might be on pens, which is another added bonus, but he was so good. He's talismanic basically, so yeah, he's got to be in. So that's the main starting 11. In terms of bench, it's fairly cheap in terms of goalkeeper and defender. In terms of mid, you could go with whoever you want really. I've just put Grealish in for now. But that could even be like Sarr, and you could start Sarr instead if you're really backing against Villa, for example. And then Dorgu, like I say, he could be a really nice pick, to be fair. I think Man United do have the highest odds for a clean sheet, so maybe it would be worth putting Dorgu in. But like I say, Coyote seemed like a nice differential here. And, with a free hit, you want to try and go against the crowd a little bit. So that's why I've gone with that for now. And Estev's just there because cheap. But I've got less team value than probably a lot of people because, I've had Fulkrug price drops and Verts price drops, so you might be able to afford a little bit more than me here. But this is the kind of team I would go for. Let me know what you think. And if you're planning to free hit this week, what kind of team do you have? I'd be interested to know what it's like and how it differs to mine. And yeah, in terms of captaincy, who would you go for? But yeah, that's the free hit team. I hope you found this helpful and that I've kind of helped decide, solve some of your dilemmas. But yeah, for now, let's move on to PICKLE'S punts. Now, my PICKLE'S punts. I feel like this is I kind of had a bit of a spoiler alert in my free hit team because all of these players were in my free hit draft. But yeah, so the first one, Michael Coyote. This one's more of a punt if you were on a free hit. I'm not sure about long term, to be fair. But against Sunderland, he could be a really nice pick. He is a little bit attacking and the potential to rack up DEFCON as well. Because, Sunderland do get their chances. They're just not always converting them. And I think against Brentford, which isn't the strongest defence in the world, there could be that opportunity for Coyote to get defensive contributions. Could be a little bit safer and go Collins, but I've already talked about Collins before. But yeah, Coyote, I mentioned him at the very start of me making this channel, maybe like game week 1 or something. He's been mentioned before, but it's a very, very cheeky differential. I do not mind it at all. Now, again with Brendan Johnson, I know that he's slightly more risky in terms of getting rotated, but I think he's going to start each game. If you want to go safe, you go Kudos, but this is PICKLE'S punts, okay? I'm trying to be a little bit risque, Well, I think Johnson, with the fixtures they got coming up, he's scored in both games so far. I think that he could be a really nice option. And like I mentioned before, if you're looking for a Palmer replacement or a Saka replacement, he could be a really nice one to go for. At least for the short term, I think he'd be really, really nice. And then Jack Grealish, it could be a bit early punting on him already. But I think you could see the kind of difference he made to the Everton attack. He is such a good footballer. And God, I was thinking about it. I can't believe how long he'd actually been at Man City. Like, time's gone so quickly. It doesn't seem like it's been that long since he left Villa. But yeah, anyway, such a good footballer and, knows what he's doing. He's very, very creative. And I think, they got Wolves and we've seen how bad Wolves are. I think he could be a really nice option. Not the safest of options, I'll admit. Maybe not the most exciting. But if you're willing to take a little bit of a chance on an Everton attacker, then Grealish might be the way to go because I think he is going to transform their attack somewhat. Now, I'm not expecting them to start getting millions of goals, by the way, by any means, but I think he is going to continue to have that impact, and it'll be a very interesting one to watch for sure. But if you're looking for someone a little bit spicy, I wouldn't mind Jack Grealish. So yeah, those are my Pickles punts, and now let's talk about my Pickles passes. Now, the players that I would avoid this week are kind of similar theme in terms of we need to just see what happens first before we pick them. Osula, obviously, Gordon got a red card, is going to be out for 3 games. You know, people are thinking he's probably going to start as a number 9 now, but Newcastle keep putting bids in for Strand Larsen and Wolves keep rejecting them, but you know, there's only going to be so much money that they offer where Wolves are going to be like, wow, we can't ignore that and reject it. And I think that now reports seem to be saying that Strand Larsen, he does have Newcastle on his mind and that he would be open to a move. So as a Strand Larsen owner, this is kind of worrying me. And it kind of shows that, you know, they don't have much faith in Osler and he's not the solution for them. So as nice as the fixtures look over the next 3 with Leeds for being the next one, I don't think I'd go there. Even 5.5 mil looks so tempting as a cheap forward replacement. But yeah, I just wouldn't do it. And with Strand Larsen as well. One, even if he stays at Wolves, they've just not been good. And even with the good fixtures, I just don't have much faith. And it makes me wonder, do I just get rid of Strand Larsen instead of Fulkrug for now? And yeah, I mean, if he does move to Newcastle, fixtures look good, but it's like, is he going to start straight away? And how quick is it going to happen? It's concerning me. So it might be that I even get rid of Strand Larsen now. And I know that a lot of people were maybe looking at getting Strand Larsen in because of the fixtures. But like I said, even if he does stay at Wolves, Everton at home isn't the best fixture in the world, really. Everton have a pretty good defence. So yeah, unfortunately, I would just avoid Strand Larsen altogether now. And then Eberechi Eze, of course, this man. I love this man. You guys know this. And a move to Arsenal is very, very exciting, I won't lie. And if we see this guy starting regularly and getting decent minutes, oh boy, is he getting right in my team. But for now, we need to just hold off and just see what happens. Arteta clearly doesn't have much faith in Martinelli, so we'll see. We need to just wait. And anyway, they have Liverpool, so it's not a game week where you want to just put Eze in anyway. But yeah, as excited as I am and as excited as I'm sure a lot of you are, we need to hold off for now and see what happens. But in the next couple of weeks, well, not next couple of weeks technically, but game weeks 4 and 5, if it looks like he could be a good option. And, you know, he could even be taking set pieces. If he is, then, you know, at 7.5 mil, this could be game-changing, but yeah, for now, we'll avoid. But moving on from that, let's talk about the predictions that I have for Game Week 3. So guys, here are my predictions for Game Week 3, and each week I try to come up with a prediction that's like slightly different from the last one. Let me know down in the comments if there's a specific type of prediction that you'd like me to try and make for the game week, but yeah, these are the ones that I've come up with for this week. If we could get a third one right in a row, that'd be crazy. Sorry if you heard my shoulder, just ignore that, it's a bit dodge. But yeah, the first one, Liverpool versus Arsenal. I think there's going to be a lot of yellow cards in this game, and I predict that there'll be at least 5 in this game. Yeah, we'll see. I just think that there's going to be a lot of fouls, a lot of tackling, a lot of beef. So yeah, that's why I've gone for that one. And then number 2, I'm predicting that Tarkowski does not get DEFCON points against Wolves. And the thought process behind that, honestly, is just that Wolves are just so bad offensively. So Tarkowski isn't going to need to defend as much. But yeah, we'll see. That one's probably wrong, but you never know. Then the third one, this is controversial, especially when Spurs have kept 2 clean sheets in a row now. But I predict that Spurs will concede 2 goals to Bournemouth. So that's why I was saying earlier that Semenyo perhaps isn't that bad of an option. You might want to consider him. So yeah, we'll see. That would be very interesting if that happened. Wouldn't be ideal though, as I have Porro, but we'll see. So yeah, like I said, if there are any charities that you'd like me to support, if I do get more than 10 right, and I'm really hoping I am. I mean, we're making decent progress here. Then please let me know down in the comments. So there we have it, guys. That is the end of my Pickles preview video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd really love to know down in the comments if you guys have any predictions for the upcoming game week. I am debating whether to include some, predictions from the comments and kind of shouting you out if they're right. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. But yeah, overall, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd love to batter me in FPL in my league, then please feel free to join. The code is 5LIC13. And if you want to follow me on Twitter as well, or X as they now call it, I'm on there at FPL_pickle. I'd love to see as many of you on there as possible. I love to engage with you all. I try to reply to as many comments as I can, but yeah. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you very, very soon for my team selection. Bye bye.